Okay, you said, what do you got to lose?
So what do I got to lose? So I applied for this job because I'd always been a performer at heart. I'd just been on the wrong side of the camera.
Yeah.
And they hired me on the spot.
So, now, did they hire you from New York? Where was the company originally from?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
And the owners were in town, and they hired me on the spot. Now, I was the only person that applied for the job.
But you know what? You really did make it your own, and you really were the face of the company.
I was. I was in the newspaper. I was on TV. I was on the WYES auction. I was the face of the company. And after a year of doing this, I knew I could create a better mousetrap.
Right.
There were certain things, the company wasn't being run that proficiently, and there was only one act. And I had visions of creating multiple acts.
So what was it in your mind that they were negligent in terms of how could they improve it?
It was just run sloppily. I can't put my fingers on it, but it was just.
Did everybody get paid in cash?
Everybody was me.
Yeah, but did you get paid in cash?
No, I think I got a check. Each week I got a check.
And then you had to turn it over to the company and they paid you back, or?
No, I deposited it in the bank.
Oh, okay. So
you get a paycheck, you put it in the bank. That's what I did.
I'm just trying to figure out how they got their cut out of
Well, they charged like $25 and they gave me $7 of it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got a fraction of the cost of the performance. But I was sent to homes, offices, restaurants, bars, hospitals, schools. I mean, I went everywhere. I thought I got to learn the city. Long before GPS ever hit the scene, I was using a map and finding my way from Chalmette to Kenner and back. But so I became, and then after a year, I thought I could do this better, and so I wrote all my own songs. I created my own costume. And I did, out of my own ethics, I didn't want to compete with the people who gave me the idea in the first place, because quite frankly, I would have put them out of business. I was that good, and I don't say that out of cockiness, but I was.
Yeah.
And so I chose to move to Baton Rouge and started there. I was looking for cities that maybe didn't have such an enterprise.
So what you became was Merry Minstrel, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Merry Minstrel was.
That was my idea.
In Baton Rouge before it was actually in New Orleans.
Oh yeah. I moved to Baton Rouge and started Merry Minstrel. I got a Merry Minstrel.
But what year is this now?
78.
So you're not quite married yet, even, right?
No, I think I got married in 79.
I think so too. Yeah.
And but Delary and I moved to Baton Rouge.
Now she had come back from Mexico by that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we moved to Baton Rouge, and I started Merry Minstrel, and I borrowed money from the bank, and for radio ads, and it became hugely successful.
Yeah.
And I was the only performer for a while, and then hired belly dancers and
strippergrams.
And then shortly after that, I became a male stripper, and I was a male stripper for 20 years.
Now you did say that the male stripping was very lucrative for you to a certain extent, but it was also hard on the body, that you had some knee problems and stuff.
Well, I had knee problems from high school. I had an injury playing football, but it wasn't even really football. It was PE. I can't even macho say, I was on the football team. I have it in PE. And so I knocked my knee out completely in 10th grade.
So it was an old injury that you sort of aggravated. Yeah. And but you also had, you've had some problems with hips and stuff like that.
I've had so many problems, medical problems. It's ridiculous. I mean, just in the last 10 years alone, I've had more problems than most people.
But you said the wear and tear on the body is doing all the physical pratfalls and things like that you had to do for Merry Minstrel.
Yeah.
I
gave it my all.
Yeah. And you did it for 20 years. So you're talking about from like 79 to like almost 2000 or so?
I was still doing singing telegrams and stripograms in my early 40s. I can tell you I can pretty much tell you the last stripogram I did. I was already feeling, nervous and uncomfortable about, at 40 stripping for a 21-year-old.
There are a lot of people who would not be so uncomfortable. They'd be very glad that they could still do it.
Well, yeah, but I wasn't promoting me. I was promoting the act.
Right.
And I was very conscious that I wanted the act to be as good as possible.
Right.
And I just wasn't convinced that my 40-year-old self was anywhere near as good as my 20-something-year-old self doing this. And so I went. I remember going to this birthday party at a house, somebody's home, for like a 21-year-old girl's birthday party. It was a family party at home, and I went in there and I did my thing, and they loved me. I was probably being much more critical of myself than should have been, but I did a fine job. But as I was leaving, the girl comes up to me and with a pack of photos, and she says, "You are the same guy that did my mother." Like, and I'm hoping that she meant like maybe
Did your mother? I mean, yeah, that has a lot of connotations.
Did my mother's birthday.
Oh, okay.
As a stripper.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm hoping that she meant maybe a year earlier. I went to her mother's 40th birthday. No. Now, she pulled down pictures of me stripping when I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And I said, it was at that moment I realized I'm hanging up the G-string.
A generation of Sidney stripping.
I'm hanging up the G-string. I said, I've been doing this for too long. I'm on second generation now. And
now, by that time, though, almost 2000, you had opened up, what, 3 locations for American Minstrel, right? One in Florida?
I was opening up. I opened up Baton Rouge. I opened up 3 locations in Florida. I opened up Indianapolis,
Indiana.
Wow.
So
I opened up, and eventually I opened up Mississippi Gulf Coast. And then I came back to New Orleans also and opened up here. But I didn't do it I didn't really.
Did you franchise or were they your own?
They were my own at first, and then I sold them as franchises.
So in other words,
it's very difficult to run a cash business when you're not in town. They're going to steal from you. And so I realized I could not really run the businesses successmily, being in New Orleans and having a business in Indianapolis, Indiana,
Yeah.
So I ended up selling those businesses.
So, but how many at one point, how many did you have in terms of 6 or 7?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But, and that's where my first money started coming in, but it wasn't, but I also, at that time I also bought land in Mississippi. I built a big log house on 40 acres that was in 1983.
Okay, but I want to back up. I want to back up first because we haven't gotten to 79 about Delray and all the permutations about that relationship and the marriage, etc. The wedding. I mean, I'd like to back up just a little bit because I remember, it seemed to me weren't you living at one point on Louisiana Avenue?
Yeah.
Was that after? I assume after 79.
That was that was 76, 77.
Was it that early?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because
and that house doesn't exist anymore, right? It was
no, that was torn down.
It was torn down because of either gas or something like that. They had to tear it down.
Wow.
Beautiful Victorian mansion type of really nice house. Unfortunately, so Delray left. You said to go to Mexico, and then she came. When do you remember when she came back? 78, 77?
Oh no, she came back I think in 76.
Okay.
She was only there for less than a year.
You all hit it off pretty good.
She came back when her brother died. Her brother was killed in an automobile accident in the fall of 76.
Here in New Orleans?
Here in New Orleans. And he was 17. And
younger brother, I take it. Yeah.
And and I was living with her mother and her sister and her brother at the time he died.
Oh no.
And on Louisiana Avenue at that house.
Oh, I didn't realize it.
They were there first, and I moved in with them.
Oh.
And I remember one morning I got in late and I noticed there was nobody home. His bedroom was empty, and I assumed that everybody else was at home, but I get a phone call about 10 a.m. that morning after I'd gone to sleep telling me that her brother Rob had been killed the night before in a car wreck. And that's
What, was it a single car or a dump? Was it, a crash?
he crashed. He was drunk. He crashed into a tree in Auburn Park.
So
Had a
single
friend with
car.
him. Had a friend with him. The friend survived.
Shame.
So I went down to Mexico to bring her back.
She was not in New Orleans.
No,
I
she
got you.
was in school in Mexico, and her dad and mom sent me down to Mexico to.
Did she
find-
know to expect you, or did you just sort of like show up?
That I don't remember. I think she knew to expect me, but she didn't know why I was coming.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get
Yeah,
that.
once I got there, I told her why I was there, and we went back to New Orleans, and I don't think she ever went back to Mexico.
That's what I was about to say. She probably gave up school at that point. That's a shame. But if anything, the two of you got to become a bigger, more connected couple.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, you always used to say you were pretty much as a couple in love that I've ever seen. I mean, I remember you in particular. Yeah, you had your bravado at the wedding. You carried her down the aisle.
I did.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that was it. I think that club doesn't exist anymore. That Bay St. Louis.
I think that was a hotel.
Whatever it was, but I mean, I think like the hurricane came by,
Probably.
not long after.
Yeah, probably.
and killed it. But it's interesting that you all were together, and that and I guess did you all go back to the? You were living. I'm trying to remember when did Justin come along?
1981.
Okay, so it wasn't that
Justin
long.
came along in 1981, and in 1981 we were still living in Baton Rouge. I think we moved back to New Orleans in 1982. Rented a house.
You know where? Because I don't remember that.
I think we lived on Joseph Street uptown. We just rented a.
Oh, okay. So not too far from where your
Right.
mother and father used
Yeah,
to live.
and then in 1983, we moved to Mississippi. Land became available.
Right. And this was the house with the log cabin.
Yeah.
And you were the only person I ever knew who built a log cabin home. I mean, that's kind of now, but it sounded really kind of like pioneering, and it sounded really, really like something really cool to do. If you had to do it again, would you do it again with all the problems that you had later on?
Well, I didn't know the problems I was going to have.
Yeah.
The problems, I had everything. I bought logs that were not treated, and so the wood borers. I had wood borers in my logs that came out and caused great damage to my house. I had. We moved to 40 acres from the country, and my closest neighbor was a mile away. It was a nice little couple that had a child, Justin's age, 6 months younger, and it made for a perfect, their family and my family were friends. It was perfect until he fell in love with my wife and she fell in love with him. And then two families got ruined in the process.
Yeah.
Dellery and I divorced. He and his wife divorced. He and Dellery moved to Baton Rouge. I stayed in Mississippi. At the time, we agreed on a custody situation for Justin, but that soon deteriorated within a year or so. And that was a miserable part of my life.
I can well imagine, and it must be miserable for Justin too, because
It was a miserable
he was having to
part.
go back and forth between the houses, huh?
Yeah, and she wouldn't help me at all. I had to drive all the way to Baton Rouge from Mississippi and all the way back several times a week if I wanted to maintain the kind of relationship I wanted to maintain. And while we were sharing joint custody, he was going to school in Baton Rouge. I had agreed.
How old was he at that point? 3, 4?
Kindergarten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
And so by the end of the kindergarten year, his teacher was telling me that he was doing weird things. He was coming to school with weird ideas, telling the other kids just weird things. And she thought that perhaps it was coming from the mother's house, these strange ideas that he had. I mean, Dellery was quite an abstract, offbeat
Yes.
person, and I was a very concrete person. and we communicated very differently. By first grade, the principal came to talk to me and suggested, quite frankly, that I go for sole custody, or at least to change the custody arrangement around so that I could be with Justin during the school year, and maybe give Delary the weekends and the summers, because at that time I had much more ability to work with Justin on his homework, whatever. Well, she wouldn't hear of it, and because of that, I decided to try to do it through the courts. And I had all the right people on my side,
Right.
psychologists, psychiatrists, people that felt that Justin might be better off with me at that time. Wasn't trying to take him away from Delary.
Right.
I was just
Right.
trying to
Understood.
switch the arrangement around. And about 2 weeks prior to us going to court, my attorney calls me and she says, "We can't go to court next week. I hope you're sitting down." I said, "What?" "Well, Delary has just accused you of sexually abusing your son and says it's been going on since you were married, and that's why she left you." I wanted to vomit. I wanted to put a hole through every wall in my house.
I understand.
And,
This was a weapon a lot of women use at the last resort to try to, because the courts will embrace an abused woman, and they used it to their own designs. A lot. I think really
the thing
one
is,
of the
it was an absolute lie.
Of course it was.
And because of that, though, because of the accusation,
Yeah.
the trial was put off.
Yes.
And it was put off for quite a while,
Yeah.
because now Justin had to be probed and asked questions and talked to. She didn't think for 1 second what it would do to him,
Right.
only what she was doing to me. And she hurt me pretty badly on that one.
Right.
And after a year, the psychiatrists and the counselors came out with these letters. This child has never been abused by his father.
Right.
But
again,
the damage was
yeah.
done,
Understood.
and so that was one of the toughest times I've ever had to deal with. But but doesn't kill you, makes you stronger.
Well, true, but by the same token, at this time, Justin was a pretty level-headed, normal kid. No problems
Right.
that we might see later on down the
Right.
road. Yeah.
Right.
So
That didn't happen until teenager.
yeah. Well, and I think a lot of times the manifestations of things that happen for people who are bipolar, etc. Happen like in their 20s. That's when it first starts to
Well,
matter.
no, this is before the 20s.
Yeah.
This
Oh
is
no.
the
This
teens.
is so that's what I'm saying. Right now, there's nothing to even suggest that might even be something to come down the pipe. Let me get back to you mentioned the whole thing with when did that probation period leave? Was that 80s or so? Around 70,
Oh,
77, 78,
yeah.
around 83.
Yeah.
So I know you were divorced from Delary, and I remember meeting your next Barbara, your next wife. Where did you all meet? Where did that?
On a strippergram.
She hired you?
Yeah, she was a customer. She hired me to strip for a girlfriend of hers who was getting married, and it was actually in New Orleans at a club called the Hired Hand. It was a
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
It was a country western club.
Was it New Orleans or was it Jefferson? I thought it was maybe Elmwood, right?
Yeah, it was Elmwood. You're right.
And Harry Lee owned it, didn't he? At one point.
I don't remember who owned it.
I think
but
Harry Lee did.
I
Yeah.
went in there and I did the thing, and it was for a girlfriend of hers who was getting married, and she followed me out to pay me, and we just sat and talked for a while, and that's how that started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, where did she come from? I mean,
New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah,
What was her last name?
Well, she was married at the time, getting divorced. Her married name was Lawler, but her maiden name was Jones, Barbara Jones.
Barbara Jones. Okay. So about how old were you then, approximately?
My
This
late
is what,
20s.
83?
My late 20s, yeah, probably 28, 29.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe around 29. So by this time you've been married, divorced, you're now a father.
Justin.
When did it occur to you to maybe step up with another wedding and another marriage, etc.?
Well, I did that too soon. Barbara was the right woman at the wrong time. She, you know, with Delary and her new husband, now married, they were trying to paint me as the playboy bachelor in Mississippi who I guess didn't deserve to have Justin, you know, in a custodial situation. So Barbara and I got married probably sooner than we would have, you know, otherwise. You know, we probably would have waited longer, but ended up getting married sooner. And I wasn't really ready to get married yet. I don't know if I've ever really been ready to get married, but it took 4 marriages to realize that I'm not marriage material.